Hi everyone, this is Stephanie from the Pasadena Public Library. Today we're going to be making these fabric knot bracelets. So I like this project a lot because you can make it out of really little fabric. You only need about a quarter yard of fabric in total, and I'm going to be using just some scraps of fabric that I have. For your supplies, you'll need 1/4 yard of fabric, which can be made up out of scraps that are pieced together, 5 beads with large openings, and some disappearing fabric marker or tailor's chalk. I'm making 2 bracelets today. The black floral fabric is a rayon, and then the red fabric here is a quilting cotton. So you can use a variety of different kinds of fabric as long as they're not too heavy. For your fabric bracelet, you'll need to cut a strip of fabric that is 5 inches wide by 43 inches long. So if you don't have enough fabric to cut that in one piece, just piece together as many 5-inch wide strips as you need to until you get something that's around 43 inches. To save myself some time in measuring, I like to cut out the largest piece that I can and then use that piece to mark onto my other scraps of fabric. Now I'm going to piece together my strips of fabric. If you were able to cut out your fabric in one long rectangle, you can skip this part. I am just placing the short ends right sides together and pinning. I like to pin all of the pieces at once and then sew them. With my black fabric, I was only a little bit short, so I only have 2 pieces. Now I'm going to sew all of those seams until I have one long strip. I'm using a small seam allowance here, about 1/4 of an inch or 3/8 of an inch if you're more comfortable with that. Now I'm going to press open all of the seams. Once I have my strip pieced together, I am going to fold it in half and make sure that it measures 43 inches. So once it's folded in half, it should measure 21.5 inches. So mine is a little long, so I've just trimmed it down to size. Now fold the fabric in half lengthwise with right sides together and press. Now using a 1/4 inch seam allowance, we're going to stitch around one short edge and along one long edge, leaving one of the short edges unstitched. I've just trimmed that corner there where I have stitched, and starting with the end that has the short end stitched, you're going to start working that end inside the tube. Once you have it worked in about an inch, take a blunt tool like a pencil or some knitting needles, and you're going to start working the tube right side out. So I'm just using the end of it to push through the tube. Once the tube is right side out, you can use that same blunt tool to push out the corners as much as possible. Then go ahead and take out your pencil and press the tube flat. Now carefully fold under about 1/4 inch on the open end of the tube, tucking the ends inside, and press. Sew the end closed, either by hand with a ladder stitch or top stitch it closed with the sewing machine right along the edge. Now grab the end of the tube that you didn't top stitch, the other one, and you're going to tie a knot about 6.5 inches away from that end. Then thread a bead on the fabric. Then tie another knot. You can try on the bracelet once you have 5 beads and see if you need to add 1 or 2 more. It can be a little bit tricky to get the fabric to go through the bead, especially if your fabric is not super lightweight. I like to just roll up the end as tight as I can and then push it through the hole. If you have a chopstick or an awl, you can use that to sort of help the fabric push through that hole. When you get to the end and you're really happy with the size of your bracelet, you may decide that you need to shorten one end. So I need to shorten mine a little bit. I'm just going to make sure it's the same length as the end that I started with, and then I'm going to mark it with chalk and then trim it down about 1/2 inch away from that mark. Then I'm just going to press that inside just like I did before and top stitch it closed, and then it's done. So there's the finished product. I did find that with the rayon fabric, which is lighter weight, I needed a few more knots and beads because each of the knots takes up a little less space. So that's something to keep in mind. I hope you give this project a try and you use up some of your scraps. Happy sewing!